So, hello once again. With us are the two shining stars of our industry, Judy Bakieh and Sarah Alsalem, representing Gambit Communications. Not only did they emerge victorious in the MENA qualifier rounds of the Young Lions PR competition, but they also have showcased their exceptional talents by winning the prestigious Cannes Young Lions competition in 2023. Without further ado, I will dive right into the questions because my curiosity won't let me sit still, and man, do I have a lot of questions to ask. So I'll start with the basics. Sarah, Judy, can you please share with us the process of preparing for the Cannes Young Lions PR competition?
So we all know that success is not a cumulative process. It is a cumulative process, not an individual moment of genius. So what we did is we spoke to all the people that had participated before, previous winners, to understand how they approached this competition, their learnings and overall mindset. We went through all the international campaigns that had won before. They were available on the website, and we studied what made them work. We started scenario planning, and what does that mean? That means we actually thought of all the possible NGOs that they could give us and brainstormed what ideas we could do for them. You cannot imagine the number of ideas and campaigns that we have from that time. Any NGO that you can think of, we had a potential idea for. The idea wasn't to find out what the topic would be, but actually to practice how to think fast on our feet in a minimal amount of time. That exercise over a period of time really helped us when we were in Cannes because we knew how to structure our thinking when we were on a timer.
Yeah, and I think another thing is that we also had a really like a winning mindset all throughout the prepping for the global competition. And we really, really wanted to be the first from the region to actually make history. And that was our drive. So in addition to all the campaigns like Judy had mentioned, I think the regional PRCA Young Lions competition was a really, really good prep for us to understand how the PR campaign is going to look like, what takes the most time while actually planning or coming up with the campaign. So time management and things like that.
Well, you did definitely make history. I'm sure you must have been asked this a lot by now. So maybe once and for all, if you could just share it with everyone that what were the key components of your winning campaign and how did you come up with the idea? Judy, if you could take this question.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'll summarize it with two words: simplicity and attention to detail. This means having an idea that is simple yet relevant and disruptive, but also paying attention to the small details. In our campaign specifically, it was one sentence that we found after reading the client's fine print that actually made our campaign unique and even ended up being our anchor. Then we had to simplify it and make it engaging. So we took a serious topic like carbon credits, which links saving the environment through financial investments, and turned it into a light and humorous campaign. The reality is that we actually took a risk with this because we couldn't guarantee that the client who was present in the jury would take it the way that we wanted. But here's where attention to detail came to play. We had actually studied their tone of voice in their Q&As on their website and saw that they actually did have a light way of communicating with their audience. Also, to be honest, we put a show for them when we presented, and we had covered all our bases with proof points that made them excited, but not only excited, but confident about the campaign idea. So when we combined the details that we found in studying the brief, the brand DNA, and our knowledge of the PR landscape, we came up with a simple yet impactful campaign that ended up winning the gold.
Nice. Thank you, Judy. So Sarah, as we all know, the road to victory does come with some obstacles. What would you say were the biggest challenges you encountered during the competition, and how did you overcome them?
I mean, the whole thing was a challenge, but I would say the biggest challenge during the competition is really the exact moment we received the brief. You don't want to see the look on Judy and I's faces when we had to actually think and like dissect a brief and understand it. And it wasn't the easiest. It was like speaking about financial investments with environmental practices. So we really had no idea on like how we are going to make a winning campaign around the brief that we received. And then another thing that we kind of faced halfway, and I think that happens a lot of times when people are brainstorming campaigns. So we found our campaign and we spoke about the idea, and we were so excited about the idea at first. And then suddenly midway, when you're actually starting to like put your presentation together, you get this like little like thought that maybe it's not the best approach that you're gonna go ahead with this campaign idea. And I would compare it to like, for example, if you're writing or reading a word in English and you read it 100 times and then you just start looking at the word and it looks really weird and it feels like it's when you're saying it, it just sounds or looks weird. So I would really say, like, when you come up with an idea, although you're going to repeat it 100 times, just like stick to your gut feeling and stick to your idea so that you don't like go off track. So
Definitely.
these are one of the challenges.
I
Absolutely.
think on that note, I'm just to elaborate on what Sarah was saying. I think it's really canceling out that noise, because I remember when we were sitting in the briefing, we had people from France, Italy, Netherlands, and so on and so forth. Everyone asking questions, and sometimes it's hard not to be intimidated,
Right.
right? You're literally at the World Cup, and and you have the best in the world competing, and it's hard to not feel self-conscious and get intimidated. And the MENA region had never won before, and this is something that I always say to Sarah. Like, we went in with a mindset that we had to win, but that intimidation does come in. So
Like, yeah,
really to cancel out that noise and really keep the eye on the ball and not focus on any distractions. Don't think about what the competition is doing. Just really believe in your idea, and as Sarah was saying, just trust your gut and keep going.
absolutely. So the one feedback we, frequently receive from our participants every year is that working in teams does help a lot. So maybe Judy, if you could discuss the role of teamwork and collaboration in creating a successful campaign, especially like you mentioned, when you're under pressure, so much pressure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great question. Honestly, this is where you have to be clear on each person's strength. From the beginning, we knew what each one of us would be doing, and each of us knows the other so well. So, for example, Sarah had experience with Adobe, so she was covering any mock-ups that we needed to do, while I was setting their Q&As and so on. So we had different tasks, and we both know what we like to work on and what we're strong with. So this is why I always tell any team, when you want to choose a teammate, go for someone who completes you and not a duplicate. Also, always, there has to be trust in the sense where you guys have the same vision, you have the same drive and dedication to deliver the same outcome that you want. And final thing is that be what the other one needs, in the sense where we had moments of doubt. Sarah at one point was doubting, I would support her, and I had moments where I was doubting, she would support me. It's teamwork through every step. It's also hand in hand in everything. And I feel like with me and Sarah, we've worked together for a while, so we had that relationship and that trust, and that's really important.
I think that was visible from your campaign as well, even in the MENA qualifier round. So I guess teamwork does truly make the dream work. So Sarah,
Yes,
reflect
and chemistry.
Sarah, as you reflect on the journey that led you both to victory, it's intriguing to consider the broader implications. That being said, I'd like to ask, how did participating in the competition impact your skills and perspectives as PR professionals?
Yeah, thank you for that question, because I always ask myself that. And then now it's been a year already, and I can't kind of already understand how it really, really impacted. Like, part of our jobs as PR professionals, and a lot of people that are actually attending the webinar today, is to work under pressure. But the intensity of this competition was a combination of working under pressure, strategic thinking, being creative, staying awake because it's 24 hours, acting fast, taking risks all at once. And it's pretty intense. But I would say that Judy and I both came back as stronger PR professionals, which I really felt, like I said, across the year while we were working on client campaigns or even pitches for new clients. And another thing I would say is that um, there's a fine line that differentiates PR campaigns right now, and all campaigns are becoming more 360. So they're involving marketing, social media, integrated comms, and that fine line, sometimes we kind of forget where that line is drawn. But the competition really made us always keep it in top of mind that PR campaigns need to be earned at core. So that really just, it's like a wake up, or a boost if you ever forget it, that, it needs to be earned at core to keep that the campaigns and the ideas moving.
Right. Thank you, Sarah. So it's evident that your victory has left an indelible mark, both of you. With that said, Judy, how do you believe winning the gold at Cannes Lions has influenced your career trajectories and the reputation of your agency?
Well, huge accolade, definitely. First ever win for the region. And more important than all of that is that we're from the region. We're Arabs. We're from countries that have different, that people have different perspectives of. I'm Syrian, Sarah's Palestinian, and we're women too. And you know, when we finished our presentation to the jury, I'll never forget this. They asked us where we were from. And when we told them, they were absolutely shocked. And I love that moment. So this was honestly something just so amazing to see. And then also in terms of my career, it really reinforced my urge to work in the PR space and being a part of such an amazing industry. It's also a humbling experience when you go to camp because you're alongside the best in the world. You know, you're next to people from Apple and Nike, and you're seeing all the campaigns. So you see what your future could look like and what you have so much to learn, you know. And then also when we were at the Cannes Awards ceremony, I saw our names with the Gambit logo on a global stage where Spike Lee was standing just 5 minutes ago. It was such a proud moment. And to be honest, this win really put the spotlight on us, and it opened so many doors for us on both a personal level and an agency level.
I remember for us at the PRC MENA team when we were on discussing this, we were so excited when we heard this. I can only imagine how much you guys might be celebrating while you're there.
You
Um,
have no idea the adrenaline that both Judy and I had the next day and the next week. Like it was a different kind of like high
You know,
high on
must have been
success.
I
consistent, yeah.
I swear, until today, I sometimes open the videos from that time because I have videos where we're literally banging our heads on the wall, and then videos having meltdowns, and then excited, and then all of that. Honestly, best time in your life, and you learn so much in a condensed period of time, and it's a memory that will stay with you forever.
Absolutely. So I'm sure an experience as monumental as this comes with a bit of reflection as well. So Sarah, looking back, what would you do differently, or what lessons have you learned that you would apply to future competitions or projects?
Honestly, Falah, I don't think we would do anything differently because every step or every like hurdle, everything that led us to actually winning gold. So in terms of doing anything differently, we would actually do the exact same thing again, because it did end up making us win gold. But I would definitely make sure that Judy and I both have the same spirit and faith to win. I cannot explain. Maybe some of you don't know Judy very well, but she would hype me up every single day saying we have to win, we will win, Sarah, we will win. And this is like in the office and then in the airplane and then at Cannes. And I mean, maybe I would say it was too much, but I mean, her spirit is something that you need to have as a team, and at least one of the teammates, to get you through it. So definitely have good spirit and faith.
Well,
So
amazing.
listen, this is something. Listen, I call this the lion mindset. After we came back and we won, I was like, it worked. So from now on, every time there's something that like a pitch or anything that we're excited about and we're nervous, we say, have the lion mindset. Okay, you have to win. There's no other option, and that's literally what I would tell her every morning. We have no other option. We have to win, and thankfully we did.
Well, I mean, I think that's the power of manifestation as well, right? So,
Yes.
anyway, lastly, to wrap up with the questions from my side, I'd like to ask both of you, what advice would you give to aspiring PR professionals who are considering to participate in similar competitions?
Yep, thank you. I would say put all your heart into it. And even if you don't win, at least you know that you did your best, because that was something we were telling ourselves that even if you don't win, you did your best. And the experience itself is very, very rewarding. So just think about it. It's literally 24 hours of your life and you need to make the best out of it. And I would also give an advice to say that make sure your campaigns actually make a real world impact and they're purpose driven, but they're creative at core at the same time. It seems a bit complex, but I mean, if you have this mix all together, you're on the right track.
Definitely. I mean, you're going in and you're going, and you, to be honest, I'm a bit different. I say go in for the win, you know. So just prepare, do what you have to do. It's a once in a lifetime experience. It's so worth it. I can't say that enough. Do your homework, study, and when you're always think that sometimes big is not better. You know, when with our idea, you'll realize that it's a simple idea, but it was very impactful and it hit at the core what they wanted. So always think, what is my audience looking for? How can I give that to them in a nice and creative way, and then give it everything that you have to go in to win. Lion mindset.
Absolutely. So thank you so much both for sharing such incredible insights. I would now like to open the floor to any questions that our attendees may like to ask. So please share your questions in the chat box and we'll select them accordingly. I have not received any questions. So this one's from Kiran Arshad. Did you end up getting the brief from any of the NGOs you had
I
prepared
wish.
for?
We really wish.
Listen, honestly, I will never forget the brief that we got because we came out and we were just like blindsided. Okay. We didn't expect to get a brief that was from an environmental NGO that had a financial aspect to it.
A
So it was
B2B
literally
aspect. We thought
a,
B2C like it could work, but B2B carbon credits, what are we gonna
it
do
was
with
some,
it?
it's honestly, it was not something that we had prepared for. And this is why in the beginning I said it's not to actually find out what topic is going to come, but it's actually to prepare yourself on how to think on a timer, because you never know what could happen. And in our case, to be honest, regardless of the literally hundreds of campaign ideas that we prepared for, none of them came. That's the truth.
Well, thank you, Kiran, for your question. This one's from Arya Varma. When you received the brief in the first 24 hours, how did you split your time up between ideating and the presentation deck?
Ugh. All right, I
Honestly, I don't.
remember this.
Go ahead, Judy.
Go ahead, Sarah. So I'll just remember that we didn't set a specific timing for this, to be honest, because it took us some time to crack the brief itself because it was really challenging. So we don't set necessarily timing, but I do remember clearly that when we came to an idea and we're like, we believe in it, we're like, okay, let's run with it. Let's run with it and then break it down and we'll just run. You know, I remember at one point we said, okay, we'll give ourselves another hour and that's it. Then we start doing the presentation. And then when we were doing the presentation, we kept getting more ideas and kind of more expanding on our original idea. But this is where what Sarah was saying previously is really important, because this is when sometimes doubt comes in. You need to stay on track. You need to believe in your idea really well and just keep going. And then it will all come together when you're putting the presentations. You'll keep getting ideas. So there isn't a specific time slot. It's just when you know, okay, we spent, let's say 2 hours, that's enough, let's start.
Okay. Makes sense. So this one's from Ghazala Parker. Can you walk us through your research process while you were preparing for the campaign?
Yep. So when you first receive the brief, obviously what you would do is research about the campaign or the NGO or what exactly that they're looking for. So that's the first thing that you would do, you know, go to their website, maybe you can get some more insights from them. I mean, our campaign at Cannes Lions actually derived from reading and understanding what they do and just talking about it. So if you research something, tell it to your other teammate, because that might actually, yeah, the conversation might actually lead to something else. And then after you kind of dissect the brief and do the research, maybe do a bit more about what insights you need to add, things like that could be included. But I would definitely say you really need to understand, like Judy said, the tone of voice, how the NGO is actually speaking to its customers. What kind of activities do you do? What do they do? What's their LinkedIn? Who do they partner with? So things like that.
Yeah.
Also, just on that, and before the actual brief itself, when we were doing the preparing before that, what we were doing is that we actually listed all the possible NGOs that we could get, like if it was environmental, if it was about or orphans, anything, we put that all down, and we kind of started thinking, okay, what potential topics could an environmental NGO give us, and so on and so forth, and then we would just come up with ideas, and it was literally based also off of the campaigns that were happening beforehand. So when you enter the competition, they do give you access to their Young Lions website where you'll see previous campaigns, and that will give you a bit of an idea of what potential campaigns you can get, and then from there you expand on that.
Okay. So this one's from Arya Varma as well. How did you decide which route to take if you came up with multiple ideas to know which is a winning idea?
You
For
just
this
know
one,
it.
yeah, not just that, but I think it was, you have a moment where it's like, this is the one kind of situation. I feel, because the way we came up with the campaign idea was actually a conversation between me and Sarah, where we were joking about how hard this campaign was. We were joking about, we were saying, it was about an investment. We were saying, oh, this is a really bad investment. Actually, this is a really bad investment. And then we were on the back and forth. We were like, wait, it is a bad investment. Let's take that. And we started going from there. So it's more of a situation where you have a peak where you're both aligned, like, this is true, this is it, and the conversation drags naturally, and you feel like this is the one.
Yeah, but I would say there isn't a formula for this. So it doesn't mean
Yeah.
the way that Judy and I came to our idea is the way other people would. It could be cumulative ideas altogether that made up one idea. So it's
You
not
have to trust.
yeah, you have to trust.
Trust your gut feeling.
So this one's from Galia Sucker. Due to the tight timeline that we will have, what are the main 3 points we need to focus on and always have in mind while we are working on the campaign?
I think I think for me, what was really interesting after winning, we saw the work from the other agents, like other teams, what they were doing, and so on and so forth, and we realized that you should always think that sometimes going controversial and so on and so forth is not always the right route. So think of something that could be accepted from everyone. Always make sure that it's relevant, it's feasible, and it's and obviously it achieves your client's objective. So always make sure at the core of your campaign, the client's objective is being met, because sometimes you tend to go off course. And this is something that me and Sarah would always go back to. Are we saying what the client wants to say? Is this what the client wants to do, and so on and so forth? So definitely being relative, being accepted, and remember, you're talking to a global audience, so you need to make sure that it's an idea that will resonate with everyone. It's an idea that needs to be feasible. So something that was really key, this is a really key thing, is that don't give them an idea that would require a budget of an insane
Yeah, I just wanted to say
budget.
that.
No, you need to give them an idea. You need to give them an idea that's feasible. It's really good to say, okay, let's go do something on Burj Khalifa, whatever. All right, this requires a budget. So think if it's feasible. And then I would say the last thing is just whatever idea that you come up with, make sure that it's engaging, because right now there's so much noise out there. There's so much campaigns, the attention span of people. So you need to make sure that what you're giving people is what the people want to take in. So always keep also who you're speaking to in mind, and if your campaign idea will speak to them and resonate with them.
That does sound like intense pressure, I'm not gonna lie.
It is.
Kiran has a question. Which is something I'd like to ask as well, actually. How did you manage preparing for the competition while managing work as well? And you had two
Yeah.
rounds, considering you had 2 rounds. You had the MENA and then the Cannes Lions. So how did you guys
So
manage work along this?
so obviously the day of it, it's fully for it. But I mean, preparing for it beforehand, we would take at least an hour or an hour and a half a day to actually go through campaigns. So I really think it's manageable. Like even if everyone might have an hour to go through it, even if it's after working hours. But I mean, if you're applying through it through work, it should be okay to take an hour or two to actually go through it, brainstorm. You can even speak with like your colleagues or come up with ideas. So it's just a conversation that you're having. And if you prepare for it like 2 or 3 weeks ahead, you have enough time.
Actually, and to add on that, to be honest, I feel like because we were so invested into it and really wanted to win, honestly, I remember like at that time, even in our own time at home on the weekends and so
Exactly.
on and so forth,
I would
we're
send
always
Judy
like
things.
looking. Yeah, we would always be sending each other things like, oh, look at this campaign in the US, look at this campaign in Spain, look at this campaign in Brazil, So, and I remember it was actually at least a month or two before, like since we won the MENA one until Cannes, we were all the time kind of doing research. Even when we weren't, we were in the sense where when we were on our phone, we were always looking for what's new, what's the new trends, and so on and so forth. So if you're really invested into it, you'll find all your extra time is going towards doing that extra research, which should be the case because it's worth it.
So I think this is the last question, which is from Haneen. The jury always stresses on measuring KPIs to track campaign success. How did you navigate measuring your KPIs?
I remember that. Okay, so an interesting story about this was because our campaign idea was a bit risky, as I said. So what we had did is that obviously we couldn't test out the campaign fully because it was still just an idea and we have 24 hours. So what we did is we actually did a mini test to the campaign where we did it with our network. So we showcased what the results of that were from our network, and we kind of put that into place. And we saw that we kind of showed them, this is where the confidence comes into place. We showed them that people were responding and engaging to our campaign. So it was kind of easier to showcase that because we gave them like a small bit of, if our small network were engaging, then we estimate or we predict that if we share this globally, the numbers would be much higher, the engagement would be much higher, and so on. So that's what we did in terms of our campaign, because obviously we're in a very tight timeline.
Okay. Haneen says brilliant and thank you. I thought that was the last question, but we got another question, which is from Ria. Should statistical proof points be given equal importance to human insights within the final presentation deck?
I would really say that it depends on what insight, which is the main insight that you're taking, would actually play the more importance. So if you're basing your campaign on a human insight, I mean, that would take higher importance, and it doesn't hurt to add some statistical proof points as well. But it really all depends on what campaign idea you're coming up with and which route you're going for. Is it based on a statistical insight or is it based on a human insight?
Okay. Perfect. Does anyone have any more questions? No, that's it. Ria is saying thank you. And any other questions, guys? Okay, not. So looks like we've reached the end of this webinar. Sarah and Judy, you guys are absolute superstars. Thank you for making the industry proud, and thank you so much for taking the time out to host this webinar with us. Before we sign off, here's a quick reminder for everyone to register for the PRCA MENA Young Lions PR Competition 2024 as the registrations end tomorrow. I have dropped the registration link in the chat box along with the team's email for any, queries, to address any queries you may have. Just a second. I just need to make sure that you guys have received it. So perfect. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. Here's hoping we can bring home gold again this year, inshallah. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Falah. Thank you for having us.
Anytime.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.